What's happened to Pride this year? Normally we can't move for queer armies chanting. Taking inclusion a bit too far there, guys. Don't include kids. And companies are normally chucking rainbow logos all over their social media and flags on their roofs. Well, in the West anyway. In the Middle East, the logos tend to stay a little more hetero, and roofs are used in a slightly less supportive way for the gay community. And where's the marching? Here's weapons manufacturer Lockheed Martin marching to show that they'll blow your legs off, but they'll respect your pronouns while they do it, and that's real progress. To be fair, they're doing their bit for gay rights by blowing up Iranian leaders and making sure there are fewer roofs to throw gay people off. School children usually spend June buried under a relentless avalanche of rainbows and drag queens, while streets are hung with regimented rows of flags like we've been invaded by gay Nazis. But what's happened this year? Pride parades are cancelled, people are tearing down pride flags, even politicians are pulling this stuff down. Company logos remain resolutely monochrome. School kids are actually learning things like mathematics and physics instead of drag queens teaching them they're born in the wrong body. Libraries are free from government-funded dildo monkey butt men teaching them about rimming. It looks like everyone has pride fatigue, or as they say in France, fatigué. What went wrong? Did it get too big? It went from Pride protest to Pride weekend to Pride month. Now it's Pride season. Even sharks just get a week. As the acronym expanded from LGB to the entire alphabet plus some emojis, it got too big and it sucked in all kinds of weirdos and fetishists who aren't discriminated against, like these people who dress up as dogs. The only way they're discriminated against is they're not allowed on the couch. And asexuals are on there now. Having asexuals at Pride is like having an event at the Olympics called Not Doing Any Sport Whatsoever. And as the TQ plus took over, gay people were banned from pride marches, like these lesbians getting kicked off a march in Cardiff.
We're lesbians.
We're lesbians, it's gay pride.
Whatever you are at the moment is causing confrontation. Safely march yourself.
We don't want to do that. We want to be part
That's
of
your
the
choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord.
I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT march.
Yes, that is what's happening.
It became apparent that it's not an organic grassroots movement anymore. Huge amounts of taxpayers' money is pumped into it by our progressive governments, and it became overbearing, with kids prosecuted for riding their scooters on a pride crosswalk.
Deliberately making marks and scratch marks with their Lime scooters, like just all around.
Several witnesses confronted the group and called police.
We're not going to sit by as we watch people deliberately commit a hate crime.
You are charged with 1 count malicious mischief.
Turco had his first appearance in court this afternoon.
Like Pride is a new religion, and any blaspheming against it is illegal. Now back to Pride, and first, a bit of context. Pride started in the UK in 1972 when gay people faced actual discrimination. They were sneered at, refused jobs, represented negatively in the media. They were very much the straight white men of the olden times. It wasn't like nowadays, where heterosexual people feel the need to make up things like non-binary or genderqueer to get some oppression points, and everyone falls over themselves to have the most up-to-date progress flag, which is tricky as it changes every 35 milliseconds. Here's the latest one, which is updated to include neurodivergent people, which is just as well because it gave me a seizure after staring at it for 10 seconds. In the 70s, the right for gay people to gather in public and march was genuinely brave. Bottles were thrown at them, and they even got abuse from police on the march, who in those days weren't wearing rainbow helmets and handing out lube. And importantly, Pride was about adult gay people, consenting adults. Look at this picture of a march in the 70s. It was a child-free zone, and the fight for equality worked. Gay people got the right to marry and serve in the military. Finally, gay sailors. Equal rights were enshrined in law. Every Western city got its own state-sanctioned gay sex sector, and socially, it became much more acceptable. Equality was achieved, but as oppression receded and the battle for equality was won, it was replaced with the modern desire to be a victim and be special, like that mythical guy who killed the dragon but still had the sword, so went around looking for more things to kill. Pride metastasized into fighting for other things. The original acronym was LGB, which stands for lesbian, gay and greedy. The acronym has now expanded faster than a government department. It's now 2SLGBTQICAPGNFG NBA++. I'm not even joking. It includes people who have nothing to do with homosexuality, gender identities, neurodivergence, straight people who have a kink, and asexuals. As Douglas Murray said, there is no greater difference in sexuality than between an asexual and a gay man. I mean, what intolerance are asexuals fighting? Are there dads out there yelling at their kids, listen, while you're under my roof, you're gonna suck a dick, my house, my rules? Who's targeting asexuals? Religious zealots? Asexuals are literally doing what it says in the Bible and the Quran and every other holy book. You don't get thrown off roofs by religious zealots if you're asexual. You get promoted to bishop. Do we need to create special asexual bars where asexuals can go and express their asexuality by not having sex with anyone? No, because bars where you go and don't have sex are just bars. Okay, maybe not Tiger, but everywhere else is already a safe space for asexuals. And sexual fetishes like adult babies, human dolls, furries and pups, that's people who dress up as rubber dogs, are lobbying to be recognised as part of the LGBTQ+ community. Look, I don't care what the law says. If a man gets a boner dressing up in a rubber dog outfit, I'm not going to rub his belly and tell him he's a good boy. Also, I'm pretty sure that some of the fun of dressing up as a rubber Labrador is that it's slightly taboo. Don't take that away from them. And gender ideologists bullied their way onto Pride, even though gender identity has nothing to do with sexuality. Gender identity is a feeling, not something you do. And the gender woo-woo cult alienated everyone by making it a legal requirement to address people by their preferred pronouns. There's a big onus on me to use the right pronoun, but surely there should be more of an onus on the people to look like the pronoun they want me to use. Some of these gender goblins just aren't putting any effort in. Why am I having to do their transition in my head? It's not my transition. Sam Smith has decided he's non-binary, so he wants people to refer to him as they, them. But to me, they look like a man, they're 6'2", and they have a beard. And most importantly, there's only one of them, so it feels weird giving them a plural pronoun. I think the least Sam could do is divide into two different people to make it easier, which would probably happen if he put a belt on too tight and went for a jog. Nobody cares what your pronouns are. They're not for you. They're for people to describe you when you're not there. Someone introduced themselves to a group of us at a party last summer saying, my name is Willow and my preferred pronouns are Z and Zier. And to be honest, we hadn't fucking asked. Willow might as well have said, pay attention to me. I've declared myself to be special. Willow's pronoun was only used in this sentence. Z seems to be a bit up Zier own arse. And there's been a proliferation of genders and you've got to know each one and use it appropriately or you're committing a hate crime. I grew up in the 80s. We had 2 genders and 4 TV channels and we needed 2 TV guides just for those. At the time of writing, there are 348 recognised genders. Look, I want to be a good person and refer to everyone according to their preferred gender. I just don't like homework. It seems like a lot of admin. I'll go through the genders alphabetically. There's abimigender, that's a gender that's deep and infinite. Okay, there's absorgender, that's a gender that changes to conform to the genders of those around you. Then there's adamasgender, that's a gender that refuses to be categorized, despite there being 348 categories and that being one of them. And then there's affectogender, that's a gender affected by mood swings, also known as a woman. And some people are gender fluid, so even if you check their gender at the start of the conversation, it could change halfway through, so you suddenly find yourself committing a hate crime. It's all nonsense. Nobody really believes it. Look how this woman reacts when the interviewer pretends she's trans.
Beautiful trans woman out here. Tell us about your transition, how it went.
Can I hold this, please?
No.
So I have a question for you. Why are you asking me those questions?
Like we're interviewing like trans women and stuff like that?
I'm not a trans woman. I'm a...
Oh, no, we're fully supportive. Do you want to talk about sort of transitioning or anything like that? Or like what people can...
I never transitioned because I was born a woman.
No, of course you're a woman, of course.
Does it make a trans woman any less of a woman?
No, you are 100% a woman.
I'm not a trans woman.
Is there another definition that people like to use, or...?
You thought I was a man?
She would say that trans women are exactly the same as women, so why is she getting upset? Even the people pushing this stuff can't get it right, like when they advertised non-binary haircuts for women. But if they're women, then they're not. It doesn't matter. If the gender woo-woo all seems a bit performative, wait until you see how corporations act. Another thing that's been noticeable this year is that some corporations have taken a hit from supporting Pride. Corporations didn't get on board with Pride back in the day when Pride actually needed their support. It was seen as too controversial, and corporations wanted money. When Pride was popular, they were all over it, virtue signalling by pretending to smash down doors that have already been opened. And they only did the Pride stuff in countries where Pride was already acceptable. It's almost as if they just want money, and if they can get it by sponsoring Pride events in London but not in Uganda, that's what they'll do. I want money as well, by the way. Sign up to my Patreon. And some of the virtue signalling is laughable. Air Canada opened Pride Month by advertising its first ever all 2SL LGBTQIA+ flight.
Pour célébrer l'inclusion à la diversité, nous sommes heureux d'annoncer que le vol d'aujourd'hui
features our very first all 2SL LGBTQIA+ crew.
To identify with the progress flag. There's something in there that represents me as well.
Wow, the first ever gay air steward, and they act like they're making huge strides for equality, like South Yorkshire Fire Service, who posted this: "Fire doesn't discriminate. No matter who needs us, we'll be there." Oh, it's great to see the fire brigade finally ending the policy of letting LGBTQ people burn to death. I guess that's why gay people are called flaming. Although, to be fair, an LGBTQ fire them in California actually joked about leaving straight men to die.
Is she strong enough to do this? Or, you couldn't carry my husband out of a fire. Which my response is, he got himself in the wrong place if I have to carry him out of a fire.
But as Pride became controversial, it started to bite corporations on the ass, famously Bud Light. Bud Light is a beer designed for sports bros to drink in the sun in a stadium shouting, "Defense!" For some reason, a marketing exec at Bud Light thought that these people would identify with trans influencer Dylan Mulvaney. It was about as popular as using Greta Thunberg to advertise Bugattis. Bud Light's parent company lost $27 billion in value, and after more than 2 decades as America's best-selling beer, Bud Light slipped into second place. They can't even give it away. Ironically, Bud Light is incredibly weak. With an alcohol content of just 3.5%, it's actually classed as tap water in the UK, so drinking Bud Light is probably the most convincing thing about Dylan Mulvaney's transition. American department store Target went big on Pride. Flags and rainbow clothes are standard, but they went too far when they also stocked tuck-friendly transgender swimsuits that help you shove your junk where it can't be seen like a sumo wrestler. For kids, parents were furious that Target was targeting their kids, so Target moved the Pride display to the back of the store, which then infuriated the rainbow people. Target managed to alienate everyone and lost $15 billion off their market cap. Even butch truck manufacturer Ford painted one of their wagons like a British police car for an appearance at Goodwood Motor Festival, and were resoundingly mocked by the sort of people who buy big trucks. Speaking of Goodwood, Adidas launched a female swimsuit modelled by one of these new women, oof, Jesus, which was condemned by female swimmers Riley Gaines and Sharon Davies with the hashtag Adidas hates women. And what woman wants a swimsuit that's had some ill-looking guy's damp junk stretching the gusset? So while the swimsuit might have sold well in that lucrative, hairy bloke who wants a female swimsuit market, it probably didn't sell as well in the slightly larger female who wants a female swimsuit market. And Ben & Jerry's ice cream was accused of rainbow washing, which is when companies use Pride to advertise their products and make money. Frankly, I don't need to know what my ice cream thinks about anal sex. The only way my ice cream should relate to my digestive tract is by being digested in it, not by suggesting I put a fist up it while balancing on a truck driving through Brighton. Building supply store Wix drew backlash for pushing gender ideology. The boss, Fraser Longdon, seems to think he's running The Guardian instead of a shop that sells hammers and nails, and said that anyone who wasn't on board with gender ideology was a bigot who wasn't welcome in their stores. And he also called 90% of the British public slightly ignorant. It shows how out of touch corporate elites are. Most Wix customers are too busy worrying about keeping their kids fed and a roof over their head to do a university course in gender studies. Wix really missed an opportunity to launch a range of saws and chisels to allow DIY gender reassignment surgery. So why did corporations fly the flag for Pride when it was already becoming a divisive issue? It's to ensure that they're eligible for investment from ESG funds. ESG stands for environmental, social and governance. They're supposed to show that an organisation is behaving ethically. A lot of money is invested in ESG funds because a lot of investors want their money to do something good. If a company wants to access this funding, they need to get a good ESG score. And one of the easiest ways to do this is to chuck some money at Pride. It's not just a corporate virtue signal is to get easier and cheaper financing. Like everything that's tried to create a utopia, ESG is awful and is destroying everything. The reason Netflix shows are so bad is that they focus on crowbarring in as much diversity as possible instead of making something compelling. Good content doesn't improve the ESG score, artificially diverse content does. And that Titanic sub-company bragged about getting rid of middle-aged white men. When given the high stakes, they should perhaps have been hiring based on merit. ESG doesn't even reflect genuine ethics. You'd think that Tesla would have a high ESG score because it makes the electric cars which are going to save us from a future of warmer weather and fast, convenient refueling. But Tesla has a lower ESG score than tobacco company Philip Morris because they have things like diversity schemes and trans-inclusivity training. A couple of years ago, 40 companies, including United Airlines, Tesco and Coca-Cola, paid up to 240 grand to have their brands splashed throughout London's Pride Parade. Now that the ESG tide is going out, corporate money is pulling away, leaving Pride Parades cancelled. And amongst LGBTQ people, there's widespread scepticism about corporate motivations for supporting Pride. A Pew Research Centre survey revealed that 68% of LGBTQ adults believe companies supporting Pride do it primarily for business reasons. And the corporate support isn't just for money, it's also the fear of a social media backlash from noisy left-wing activists if they don't. It's not so much Pride Month for companies, it's fear of being publicly shamed month. But it's not just corporations that fund Pride. Revelations that huge amounts of taxpayers' money are spent on Pride undermine the idea that Pride is an organic movement. Before Elon Musk kiboshed it, the American government spent tens of millions on Pride around the world, including $47,000 for a transgender opera in Colombia, $32,000 for a transgender comic book in Peru, and $200,000 for drag shows in Ecuador.
$45 million for diversity, equity, and inclusion scholarships in Burma. $40 million to improve the social and economic inclusion of sedentary migrants. Nobody knows what that is. $8 million to promote LGBTQI+ in the African nation of Lesotho, which nobody has ever heard of. $60 million for indigenous peoples and Afro-Colombian empowerment in Central America. $60 million. $8 million for making mice transgender.
Trans mice. I think the American government did less damage in Latin America when it spent that money funneling weapons to dictators. USAID even funded legal advice for transgender asylum seekers in Britain. Why was American taxpayers' money diverted to help illegal migrants trick the asylum system by pretending to be trans? Pride is the state religion of the West. If you don't think it's a religion, look how people get treated when they blaspheme against it. 3 teenagers were arrested for riding scooters on one of those pride flags you see painted in the road. Here's the vicious crime in full.
I just saw this group of teenagers deliberately making marks and scratch marks with their Lime scooters, just all around.
One of them's doing a wheelie. The horror.
Several witnesses confronted the group and called police.
We're not going to sit by as we watch people deliberately commit a hate crime, right in the middle of downtown.
After looking at security footage, officers arrested 3 teenagers. 2 are minors, and one is 19-year-old Ruslan Turco.
You are charged with 1 count malicious mischief.
Turco had his first appearance in court this afternoon. The judge released him under the condition he doesn't go near the crosswalk or the other teenagers. Prosecutors, though, had asked the judge to set a $15,000 bond since that's how much it costs to repaint the mural.
The community really came together to raise the money for them to be able to do it before the parade on Saturday.
Now this vandalism just hours after that repaint and only a few weeks after someone else set fire to the mural.
It sucks to be reminded in moments like this that there are still people out there that, have hate in their hearts for other people, so yeah.
But Kaylee wants everyone to know the love outweighs the hate here on Howard and through the entire city.
This was denounced as a hate crime, which is what blasphemy is called these days, and the kids were arrested on suspicion of first-degree malicious mischief, a felony offence with a punishment of up to 10 years in jail. The way the prosecutors are carrying on, you'd think that their Iranian clerics and Salman Rushdie had just swiped a holy book through his bum crack. Prosecutors also asked for $15,000 from the kids to repaint the mural. 15 grand for a bit of paint. What's pride flag paint made from? Unicorn unicorn jizz. This is public sector procurement at its finest. I mean, maybe if you don't want kids riding their scooters on it, don't paint it in the middle of the street. Charges were eventually dropped against at least one of the kids, and the scooter rental company Lime set that location to deactivate scooters when they went near it. So everyone now has to get off and walk in penance and do their own little personal pride march. And governments across the West spent millions painting everything rainbow coloured, like these weird egg-shaped police officers, or this bizarre pride crumble that was served to British politicians. Looks like an old tub of Neapolitan that we found at the back of my mum's freezer. It's got different coloured stripes to represent the pride flag, and it's served with custard to represent, well, let's not think about what the custard represents. Western governments did everything they could to push radical gender ideology, with Joe Biden inviting trans activists like Dylan Mulvaney to the White House. But this backfired when one of them got naked on the White House lawn. Most Americans would prefer the White House to be a little more dignified. Biden also appointed some hilarious gender woo-woo cultists like Woman of the Year Rachel Levine, who became a 4-star admiral and pushed an agenda of child transitioning. As gender mania receded, people started to publicly question whether drugging, sterilising and maiming children was actually good for them. Now Trump has reversed the trend. A US Navy ship was named after Harvey Milk, a gay activist who imported the first shipping container of homosexuality from Greece to San Francisco. Trump is going to rename this ship to something less gay like Hulk Hogan or Freddie Mercury. A non-gay navy. It's never been tried. And another blow for gender ideology was when the UK's Supreme Court ruled that sex means biological sex, bringing UK law into line with the kid in kindergarten call.
Boys have a penis, girls have a vagina.
Even left-wing politicians have backed away from gender ideology, with AOC, Pete Buttigieg and Sadiq Khan deleting pronouns from their social media, which has left us with no way of telling if these people are men or women. Pride became so much part of the establishment that even Just Stop Oil protested against a pride parade, which doesn't really make sense. Lube hasn't been oil-based in decades. Police actually did their job for once and removed the Just Stop Oil protest from the Pride March in only 16 minutes, showing that they can actually enforce the law when ideology dictates. This means that if you're working class and you need to get to work on time, you're going to have to dress your transit van up like a pride float and wear sparkly sequined hot pants so that the police move any eco-protesters from blocking the road. And Maoris, the indigenous people of New Zealand, also protested against Pride. Creating a terrible dilemma for left-wing people who didn't know whether to support the brown people or the queer people. Which side is higher in the oppression matrix? Oh, if only there's some Muslims here. The Maoris stopped a pride march by doing the haka, which is actually the only thing gayer than a pride march. Apparently, historically, this is the dance they did before eating people. Oh, you're going to eat me? Start with the penis and work your way round. So the money and the political will is drifting away, but the main reason Pride is falling from favour is Gay Erasure. Great band, by the way. I'm talking about lesbians, gays and bisexuals being sidelined from Pride, from the very organisation they set up. Stroud Pride even posted a job ad explicitly excluding gay people. We will be taking extra care not to allow performers who hold harmful views such as lesbian, gay and bisexual views. I swear this isn't satire, this is a genuine advert. Pride was set up because people saw LGB attitudes as harmful, and now the homophobes seem to have taken over. When they say that LGB views are harmful, it points to the friction between parts of the Pride movement that have arisen as it expanded to include queer, trans and asexual people in recent years. Carla Jay, who helped organise the first Pride marches in New York in 1970, says LGBTQIA is so broad that it really is difficult to hold together as a front. Police were filmed at a Pride march in Cardiff removing lesbians from the march who carried banners saying trans activism erases lesbians and lesbians don't like penises, which apparently offended people who think that lesbians should be forced to have sex with males. Rather than have a word with the individuals that were screaming abuse, police decided to eject the lesbians.
The to use force
Because we
if
are
necessary.
marching in a march.
At the moment...
No, except, I just want to make sure.
Yeah, you'll know now. Let me just explain to you, and it'll give you some understanding.
Yeah.
So at the moment, your march, this group of people, is causing confrontation between different groups of people, okay?
We're lesbians, it's gay pride.
Whatever you are at the moment
I'm lesbian.
is causing confrontation.
I did not want to I went home and I fucking you're bullshit. Fuck off.
Say that you march yourselves.
We don't want to do that. We want to be part
That's
of
your
the
choice. So what I'm telling you is to make sure it's safe. We are going to remove you from the road, and I want you to do that of your own accord.
I want to make sure I understand that you are removing lesbians from like LGBT march.
So lesbians were kicked off a so-called pride procession, while the rest of the LGBTQIA2 Spirit++ crowd, many of whom will doubtless just be heterosexual kinksters, were allowed to stay. Some gay and lesbian people see the current trend for transitioning kids as a form of conversion therapy. It's taking young people who would otherwise grow up to be gay and who often show traits usually associated with the opposite sex, and transitioning them to live as the opposite sex. Parents of some kids who've transitioned have expressed homophobia. In fact, it echoes what happens in Iran, the country with one of the highest rates of gender transitions in the world, second only to Thailand. Iran has an extremely repressive, homophobic Islamic government, although that might have changed by the time you watch this. And they're so homophobic that they subsidise gender transitions for young gay Iranians who get given a choice: transition or be prosecuted as gay and potentially be executed. We're not so different in the West. Staff at the notorious Tavistock Gender Clinic even joked that soon there will be no gay people left as gender clinic referrals surged. Some lesbians have complained of being coerced into sleeping with trans women. Lesbians have been accused of being vagina fetishists for refusing to sleep with trans women, even though the lesbians are same-sex attracted, not same-pronoun attracted, and female-only and lesbian spaces have been inundated with trans women who mostly look like dodgy blokes exploiting the trans fad to perv on women. But society and the law is generally on the side of pervy blokes. A female-only app called Giggle for Girls was successfully sued by one such trans woman, the delectable and fragrant Roxanne Tickle, who really should have called himself Tess. This bullying into women's spaces did a lot to turn public opinion. There's also a move to include children. Pride originally excluded children because it was about sex, which, unless you're a Rotherham taxi driver, is something that happens between adults. As the Pride acronym expanded, paedophiles tried to latch on to the end of it, rebranding themselves as minor attracted people, or MAPS, and left-wing parents drag their kids along to gaze into the yawning anus of a mentally ill sexual exhibitionist. I don't understand the rationale of this. I think it comes down to tribalism. Trump says it's bad, so we must do it. I think Pride should stay adults only, not just because it's not appropriate entertainment for a kid to show a nutsack bursting out of lycra, but because Pride is a chance for adults to let their hair down and express their sexuality. If they've got toddlers staring at them, that's going to cramp their style. Most of the gay people I know don't want kids and don't want to be around kids, and one of the advantages of the same-sex lifestyle is that you're unlikely to get pregnant no matter how hard you try. Maybe liberal parents could respect this, and Pride now includes gender ideology, which has nothing to do with sexual intercourse between adults, but relates to what you identify as, so isn't bound by age limits. Let's hear these people in their own words.
I want to talk to the kids. Hi kids. Hi kids. Hi kids. Hi kids. Hi kids. Hey kids. Hey kids. Hey kids. I'm Jeffrey, and I am not a danger to children. I am a danger to parents, though. And I wanted to let you know I value you. I thank you. If you have no family, you can be in my family. If you needed to go no contact or limited contacts, I love you very much. Going no contact will feel worse. Can't lie to you. You don't have to be around those awful people.
We'll convert your children. Happens bit by bit, quietly and subtly, and you will barely notice it. You can keep him from disco, warn about San Francisco, make him wear pleated pants, we don't care. We'll convert your children. We're coming for them. We're coming for your children. We're coming for
By campaigning for children to have access to gender transitioning drugs and surgery, the gender woo-woo cult are blurring boundaries and suggesting, well, if a kid can consent to transitioning, what else can they consent to? And giving kids puberty blockers preserves the kid in a childlike state until it's technically of age. Isn't that a massive red flag right there? The drugging, sterilising and maiming of confused kids is the child sacrifice of our time. At least the Aztecs sacrificed children to get God to bless the harvest. Lefty parents trans their kids to virtue signal better and appease the gods of the gender woo-woo cult. Maybe the cure for pride fatigue is radical simplicity. Ditch the acronyms and the heterosexual hangers-on and the fetishists and the kiddie drag shows and the rubber spaniels, and stop trying to force it in every orifice. And the way Western society is going, maybe next year we should have a shame month instead. Okay, thanks for listening. I've been Leo Kears. Bye. Bye bye.